Hi, Liz. Welcome to the Women Waken podcast.
Hey Whitney, it's so great to be here.
It is fantastic to have you here, Liz. I am really excited to discuss our topic today, which is, I'm going to let you say it because I mess it up every time.
So it's a fancy French word called boudoir. Some people say boudoir if they want to be fancy, but my preferred pronunciation is boudoir because I'm an American. It just means a woman's bedroom in French, but I'm a
Really?
boudoir photographer. Yep.
Didn't know that. Okay. So, Liz, how did this become your profession, your business, your world, basically? Because you're not only a boudoir, you own a boudoir studio, but you're also a photographer. So you kind of run
Yeah.
the shop and take the pictures?
Exactly. Yeah. And I have some people that help me. So about 10 years ago, I was already a photographer. I was doing normal, and I'm putting that in quotes, normal photography stuff, families, events, weddings, babies,
Clothes on.
clothes on, all clothes on, right?
Yeah.
And I happened to get a job at a studio here in Chicago. I was answering the phone, doing some marketing for them, taking some photos, and they did some boudoir there. And I was like, what is this? I'd never heard of boudoir. I wasn't familiar with it. But what I started to see is the women that would come into the studio for a boudoir photo shoot. They'd walk in the studio sort of nervous, wondering what was happening. But when they walked out of the studio, you could see them just radiating this joy. They were confident, they were happy. And I was like, there is something going on with this boudoir. These women are loving this.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I kind of got curious.
can I ask really quick, how old were you or what year was this? Because I actually don't really know when boudoir photography became sort of more acceptable, mainstream, common. So when you first saw it, did you even know what it was? Or were
Right.
you first
Okay,
seeing it?
so my very first boudoir photo shoot was 2015, where I was taking the pictures.
Okay.
I believe the very first boudoir studio in America opened in 1999, is what I've heard. Although
Oh, that's
some of,
recent.
yeah, although you have to understand when photography was invented, some of the very first early pictures that were taken were of nude women because, the camera was invented and some dudes had a camera. What are they gonna do? Right? So like, and think about like art from thousands of years ago. I mean, the David from Michelangelo's David, right? The human body has always been celebrated. So it's not like I invented this, right? But there are beautiful paintings and sculptures of the female form dating for thousands of years. Boudoir photography is kind of the idea that a woman would go to a studio and do this as an empowering confidence building thing. Really started gaining steam like 2010, 2015.
Awesome. And then, so that was when you got into it. So from that moment, you were doing a normal photo shoot and then you saw the boudoir photography happen. What did you
Yeah.
do? Did you immediately say, this is what I want to do? Or did it just kind of sit with you for a while? Did you happen upon it? And it just, how did that work?
So I'm working at this studio, I'm helping out clients, I'm answering the phone, and I see how much fun they're having. I'm like, I need to do this for myself,
Oh,
right?
for yourself.
Yeah, so I did my own boudoir photo shoot to see what it was all about, and wow, I had such a great time. That was a transformative experience for me. I'm not exaggerating when I say that doing a boudoir photo shoot myself when I was the person in the pictures, it helped me tap into like a power and a confidence and assurance in me that I hadn't had before. So I worked at that studio for 3 years and then decided to open up my own boudoir boutique. So in 2018, I decided to go out on a limb and open my own business and just really focus on boudoir and just provide this safe space where I just do boudoir. And so I've been doing that now for 7 years, full time, running my own business.
What was it like getting started? Did you just start marketing that, hey, I want to take sexy lady pictures? Or did you have friends? How did you get that going?
Okay, it's not easy to start a small business. I'll just say that. I for sure started really naive. I didn't know anything, and I was like, yeah, I'll start a business. Turns out starting a business was a lot more, there was a lot more to it than I expected. The very first few months of the studio, I did take a lot of pictures for free. Anyone that would come in for free, I would just take pictures in exchange for them to let me use their pictures on my website because I had no portfolio. I needed images to market to show what I could do. So I did a lot of free shoots to get started. I think I shot maybe 20 or 30 women for free to get started because I needed that portfolio building time. I needed some practice. I set up a website. I started doing some marketing with Google Ads. And then you know what happened not that long after? I opened in the middle of 2018. I'd been doing this for just about a year and a half when something in the spring of 2020 happened,
Yeah.
which was the pandemic, right? So that
Ah.
was hard, but the silver lining about the pandemic for me was in Illinois, I had to shut down completely if I wanted to comply with the government orders. I couldn't be open as a business. And so, since I couldn't be at my studio taking pictures, that forced me to go home, get on my laptop, and really figure out a lot of the business stuff. And so when a lot of people were at home making sourdough and I don't know, banging pots and pans, I was on my laptop trying to figure out how to run a small business. And so that was actually, in some ways, a blessing in disguise for me, for my business.
Yeah. So now, did you do this all on your own? So back at this time, because I know that now you are married with two kids. So was this pre-family or were you already married at this point? Or did you have anybody that was helping you, or did it feel like a very solo entrepreneurial pursuit?
So I am actually married to my college boyfriend. I got married in 2006. So I have been married for almost 20 years now. And when I first got married, I was a teacher. I have what's called an English as a Second Language certification, ESL. So I taught English for a while, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, had two little girls. My husband got an MBA. We moved around. We lived in Texas. We lived in Michigan. Anyway, we finally ended up in Chicago. And that's where I started working for that boudoir studio. And then it was actually my husband who said, you've been working at that studio. Like, have you ever thought about going out on your own? And I was like, no, I would never think to do that. I didn't know a lot of entrepreneurs. I didn't really have any people in my circle who were self-employed. It was literally something that had never occurred to me that I could be a business owner. It was not in my like circle of imagination at all. Um, and so my husband did kind of push me on that a little bit. The one really fortunate thing for me, you ask if I did this on my own. My husband had a quote unquote real job, like a salary job, while I was starting my studio. The first 18 months that I ran my studio, I was not able to turn a profit. I
Mm.
was running it, I was taking pictures, I was bringing in some money, but every dollar I made went right back into the business because for a variety of reasons, I just wasn't making enough money to run a profit. And so I was able to buy groceries and keep a roof over my head because I was married to my husband who had a day job. So that was lucky for me. I mean, that's what allowed me to really do that. I will say, I did take out a business loan to get started, $25,000 loan. I'm happy to be upfront about numbers like that because we didn't have the savings to just do this. So I did take out a loan to get started on the business as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, kudos to you for taking that leap because it really is, it's quite a daunting leap, right? So I'm a mental health therapist professionally, and the pandemic actually allowed me to cross that bridge, to make that leap. Because just like you, before the pandemic, I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not going to start my own business. I have to rent a space and furnish it and find my own clients and do my own billing and marketing and da 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 da. No way. But then the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, it's kind of been narrowed down to just a laptop and a chair. And they have services that'll, a one-stop package for therapists to client management. And I would just cross my fingers that I got clients, and I did, but that was very low overhead, right? So it wasn't like a studio like you were doing, but at the same time, it felt just as scary to take that leap because it is the most freeing, wonderful thing to be self-employed, but it's also the most intimidating and terrifying thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, girl. And I look back at myself now and I'm like, where did I get the courage to do that? I'm not sure. I was part of the reason I was able to start a business is because I didn't know what I didn't know. It's sort of like when you get pregnant with a baby, you just don't know how hard it's going to be, but you just like get pregnant and you're like, okay, here we go. Like I started a business kind of like that. Like, okay, well, let's start a business. Like you just don't know what's coming ahead of you. And so you're willing to dive in, right? But when you look back, you're like, holy moly, like That was a lot. Yeah. So like at least when we first started, I still was able to use my husband's health insurance and 401k and all that, you know. I actually now have self-employed insurance and some other stuff, but um if I hadn't had any kind of a safety net, I'm not sure it would have been a lot harder, let's just say. It would have been because of those 18 months that I didn't make a profit, like how would have I bought groceries? I don't know. So
Yeah.
you know, for me, it worked out that way, but it is, I have so much respect for small business owners, people who go out on a limb to do something now. It is a big deal that I didn't appreciate before I had started my own business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming and it's risk. There's no way around it. It's a risk, but for a lot of people it's, risk worth taking. Not everybody stays afloat and makes it, but I'm so happy for you that it worked out and you have this business now. Now, what is the name of your business?
Yeah, Chicago Boudoir Photography Studio. So I'm located here in the Chicago area. I'm actually in the suburbs a little bit, North Shore suburbs is what we call it.
Okay.
And I take all the photos, but I also have some employees who help me out. So when you come to my studio for a photo shoot, you get your hair and makeup professionally done, and I have a beauty team who does that, airbrush makeup and lashes and stuff. And then I also have a gal who helps answer the phones for me while I'm taking photos and helps on the back end stuff.
Wow. So how did this sort of amp up? Because I imagine you didn't start with getting this whole team together because of, trying to just get clients, trying to work with the resources you had. How did it start with just you and people coming up with their own makeup and just taking people's pictures?
So the hair and makeup, I actually had at the studio that I worked at, they had a beauty team, and I had seen how that was an important part of getting women ready for the boudoir experience. And not only does it make them look great for the camera, but having that hour to sit and get pampered before the photo shoot was an important kind of prep part too. So I, even those first early shoots when I started at my studio, I hired freelance hair and makeup artists to come in because I wanted that to be part of the whole experience. Now, some women don't want hair and makeup for their photo shoot. That's fine. They can opt out. But most women, having the hair and makeup done takes a lot of the pressure off of the experience because they can just drive over there with clean, dry hair. You don't have to worry about looking great in the car or on the train, getting out the wind. I mean, Chicago, we have, a lot of months out of the year, we don't have great weather here. It's windy and rainy and snowy,
Ah.
right? So when I tell women that I have hair and makeup there for them at the studio, it takes a weight off of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it more fun. I mean, what you want it to be the whole experience. And I want to talk about that. You speak about how you believe that every woman should have the experience of a boudoir photography session. Why is that? What is it about it? And just, my thoughts right now are already like you get to show up, you get to get glamorized, you get to feel sexy, but also, as a therapist that specializes in eating disorders and body dysmorphia, women being able to truly feel like they can have their own unique sexuality, sensuality, sexiness is so important because we're going to walk around this life as we look, whether we accept it or not. So being able to accept it and say, it might not be somebody else's sexy, it may not look like that, but what do I have going on and how can I own that and really see it as like, oh shit, I'm hot?
Yeah, I mean, you hit on it. We as women, a lot of us have internalized some ideas about our worth and our bodies. Some of those ideas might be helpful, some of them are like really damaging, right? Depending on what you've been socialized to believe about women and women's bodies, right? And I know that I grew up feeling like good girls weren't sexy girls, right? Like you wanted to be beautiful, but not too sexy, right? Like you don't want to be slutty, right? And
Right.
so doing a boudoir photo shoot for me was way out of my comfort zone because I had tried to stay in that good girl lane for a long time. And stepping outside of that a little bit to do a boudoir photo shoot felt really liberating for me and helped me embrace something that I hadn't embraced before. And I just think every woman deserves to have a moment to feel like a queen for the day. Many women give, 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 give in their lives, right? They give to their spouse, they give to their children, their coworkers, their business, they take care of aging parents, they take care of pets, right? We give, 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 and often we don't take care of ourselves. We're often not in photos, right? How many women take pictures of their babies all day and then they're not in the picture, right? Or they we don't believe that we deserve to be documented or to take care of ourselves, right? I mean, I'm generalizing, not everyone feels this way, but for a
Yeah.
lot of women, there's kind of this missing piece of I am worthy, I am valuable, I am beautiful. And a boudoir photo shoot can be a way to reclaim that.
Yeah. And to capture it, right? To capture, like, I know, like, just to be blunt, like, when I'm kind of taking sexy pictures for whoever I'm dating or something, I'm like, I want to do like a full out thing. Cause you have these moments as you get older, you're like, I'm not always going to look like this. I'm not always gonna, and not that like you can still do a boudoir photography at like 90 and still make
Yes.
it sexy if you want to. But it's like, man, I wish I could capture this because the body is so remarkable and amazing and beautiful. Why not go to the nines and get the best freaking photo shoot you can get with where you're at rather than just like a selfie in the mirror?
Yeah, and
You
so many
deserve
women,
it. Women
yeah, so
deserve
many women
that.
tell me they're like, I wish I did this 5 years ago. I wish I did this 10 years ago. So
Right.
if you're listening to this and you think I shouldn't take sexy pictures, think of yourself in 5 years and think maybe I will wish I had done it now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think our whole journey is worth documenting, right? Do it when you're 20, do it when you're 25, do it when you're 30, do it when you're 50, do it when you're 55, right? Like I think sometimes put down women and say like, oh, that's vain, or like, why are you taking pictures of yourself? But I actually think it's the opposite. I think you should have pictures of yourself. You should document yourself. You are wonderful and beautiful and worth having evidence of that.
Absolutely. Every single woman or whoever listening, they deserve to revel in their glory and how they look. I don't think it's, like you said, I think that every woman should do that. So they can say that, this is my moment. Because, like you said, women so often are like, oh, no, you have your moment. You do, I'm in the background. Let yourself be in the foreground for a second. Let yourself be in the spotlight where other people are like, wow, dang, look at you. And you're like, yeah, look at me. Women deserve that.
Because when women claim their power and stand up and actually understand who they are, we're going to change the world, right? Like this isn't
That's
just
it.
about like, oh, I'm sexy. It's about women,
Yeah.
empowered women doing powerful things in this world. Does that make sense? So when
Yeah,
women
that's my whole message.
yeah, when women really claim who they are, understand who they are, and stop playing small, I mean, we need more women like that.
Absolutely. And you're on the Women Waken podcast and it's about the divine feminine and embracing it and its return and really its introduction into our world, right? We can do it, behind closed doors, but what the world needs are women who have recognized just how powerful they are because the divine feminine is remarkably powerful in a gentle way. It's not forceful. What we see in our world right now is forceful power. I want power over you. I want to prove to you and show you just how powerful I am. To me, the divine feminine is that which just allows their power just to radiate in a way for all, right? So that we want to shine so that others can shine, so that we can all be working together. It's not competition, it's collaboration.
Yeah.
And yes, we still have what I call the sister wound, which is that because women have been oppressed and killed and pushed down for so long, we have a bit of that sort of catty energy of like, are you prettier than me? Are you going to get more opportunities than me? Because we have to. We've been fighting for resources for thousands of years. But now is the time when we can start to just see that you deserve to be in your light and I deserve to be in my light. And what if we all were in our light together and started to speak up and talk and show up in the spaces where women are currently not?
Yes. What if we had a seat at every table?
Yes, and we deserve
Yeah.
that. Good grief, it's 2025 and we are not at almost any tables, really, not in a
Yeah.
powerful way, not in a significant way. It's great that it's being introduced, but not to the level that it's not just that we deserve, it's also that could help the world right now, that could help society, that could
Yeah.
help create the change that so many of us say we want to see, but we're not willing to admit what it would actually take to have that change. You have to allow women to step up and have a voice, which we've been told, no, but that voice, it won't work, not for this world. And we're here to say, actually, that's not true because a new world is waiting to be created that isn't what we see right now. Where again, it's about competition and greed and people who want power over others and they want to have all the power and they want to show their might We need to let go of the ego and get into our essence. And that's what happens when women let themselves be seen. You're in your essence.
I feel like you and I, Whitney, have very similar missions. Everything you say, I agree
Yay.
with. We just are achieving it in different ways. Like I'm trying to help women see this and feel this through some beautiful, sexy, sensual boudoir photos. You're doing it through some mental health work and a podcast and other ways, right? But we're trying to help women claim this power so that we can show up in the world in bigger and better ways.
Yes, absolutely. And then here's another thing that I talk about often is that I think a challenge for women, you said it earlier, but some people say, well, I can't do that because that's like slutty. Like, is it slutty to be taking pictures? And I think there is this sort of, what's the difference between, sort of putting ourselves out there in a sexual or sensual way just for the pleasure of others, which women have had to do for a long time. For so long, it has had nothing to do with women's pleasure or enjoyment or empowerment. We were just there to please others. So I think there's still this kind of how do we own our power rather than just try to be enough to be sexy to others, you know? And I think it's a fine line because even I sometimes I'm like, well, I don't want to post certain pictures on Instagram because what if I just seem like they call them thirst traps, right? Like I'm just trying to get attention. I just want guys to think I'm sexy. But like, what if you're just fucking hot and you're powerful and you want to show that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's a fine line, but it's there.
Well, and we live in a society that has objectified women's bodies.
Yes. Yes.
So there's this whole thing about, even if you aren't trying to be sexy, just because you have a female body, then it means that it's sexy, right? And one of the things I am trying to do through Boudoir is to say the body is not inherently bad or an object, right? So women tell me all the time, like, well, I can't show my body in boudoir photos. Well, why is that? Let's unpack that a little bit. Why can your body not be documented in an artful way? What is it about the female body that it's so taboo to be shown, to be depicted, to be photographed, right? Where did you learn that? Why do you believe that? And do you want to keep believing that? Is that a powerful thought for you? Is that a thought you want to keep entertaining? Or do you want to challenge that thought with some other thought about what your body is and what it means?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's great that your business and your service allows women to ask those questions and consider them. And I also, to everyone listening, you have a fabulous TED Talk that you got to do, which congratulations. That's amazing. Definitely goals, right?
Yeah.
And you speak a lot about the power of nudity and how we can move into recognizing that rather than still to this day having the sense of like, oh gosh, being naked? Are you kidding? How do I own that? How do I embrace that? How is it not seen as something scandalous?
Yeah, I gave a TED Talk, 13 minutes on a stage from memory, talking about the power of nudity and why I believe people should seek out nude experiences. And of course, in consensual spaces, I'm not saying like just go streak around your neighborhood, right? Consent is also always important, but the liberating idea of enjoying and experiencing your nude body. We live in a society that really shames nudity. Not everyone does. Like, I mean, there are other countries in this world, other time societies that haven't shamed nudity, but I feel like 2025 America is a place that's like really down on nudity, right? And so, at least the way I grew up and the way I was socialized, that was very strong for me.
Yeah.
So, and maybe some of you didn't grow up quite, you didn't have quite the taboos that I do, but in general, right? Like you don't just like spend a lot of nude time, I'm guessing, right? And so my whole thing is that like there can be something powerful in deciding to do something nude. So like maybe it's a boudoir photo shoot, but maybe it's finding a discreet place where you can go skinny dipping.
Naked
Maybe,
hot springs.
okay, tell us about the naked hot springs, Whitney.
Well, actually, it popped in my mind because I lived in Oregon. I was sharing with you that I've been nomadic for a few years. And a few years ago, I was living in Bend, Oregon, and they have this special hot spring. It's at a park. You have to like walk up into the woods, and then there's all like a few tiers of hot springs, and it's clothing optional. And I thought at first I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I was like, why not? Like, what
Yeah.
would happen if I just took off my clothes? And I took off my clothes and nothing happened. I mean, people look, right? But it was like, it feels nice. And you sit around and you have conversations and you forget that you're naked. But it also just, I felt like a mermaid. Like I felt very sensual and like just letting it all out and just, it felt really nice. And it felt really freeing. And like you said, it's not like we need to walk around naked all the time. We want to respect other people's comfort levels, but in safe spaces that are designated for nudity, you're right. Like try it out sometimes. I mean, I think for some women who are really nervous about it, even a women's locker room, a lot of
Yep.
people still kind of try and hide. And it's like, what if you just let yourself be seen? And I'll just say one more thing, and I want to hear more about your body positivity and nudity. But I encourage a lot of my clients who struggle with eating disorders to do something that I did, which is that at one point a few years ago, I had gone through a bad breakup and gained a bunch of weight. And I was, as somebody with an eating disorder history, I was like, this is bad. This is not good. My clothes don't fit. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I'm sitting here working with clients, encouraging them to accept themselves, and I'm not able to do it. And I wasn't mad at myself, but I thought, what could you do to be okay with this and not see this as bad? So I said, you need to sit in front of a mirror naked and ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Look at your body and say, what is it that's so scary about an extra 15, 20 pounds? Like, what are you afraid of? And I just looked and then I danced and I was like, actually, this is nice. My butt's really big. My boobs got bigger. Like, just embrace it and just not be afraid of it. And I'm not dismissing anybody. When our weight changes, we have a lot attached to that. And you can have certain feelings, but there's something about recognizing that your body is not anything to be afraid of. It's actually the most miraculous physical thing in existence. It keeps us alive 24/7. It's working 24/7 to keep us alive. And so many people, specifically women, spend so much of their life hating their bodies rather than embracing them. So I think that being with your body and allowing it to be seen is a good first step to saying there's nothing wrong here and it's actually beautiful.
Yeah. If you are currently in a space where you keep thinking, I hate my body, I hate my body, I hate my tummy, I hate my arms, I hate my legs, sometimes it can be a big leap to get from I hate my body to I love my body. And the brain will just immediately reject that and be like, I can't get from hate to love. But if you can get from I hate my body to I have a body. I have arms. And you know what I can do with arms? I can give people hugs. You know what? I have legs. You know what I can do with legs? I can walk down to the lake. You know what? I have a tummy. You know what I can do with a tummy? I can eat delicious food and I can laugh, right? So if you can get from I hate my body to I have a body and start appreciating what it is that your body does as opposed to what your body looks like,
Yeah.
to me, that is the first step.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, again, that's so hard for women to do because for so long we've been told what a body is supposed to look like and what's
Yeah.
right and wrong about it.
Yeah. And that the only way to be acceptable and lovable is to be young and thin.
Yeah.
If we're not young and thin, we are no longer valuable. And of course, that's a very scary thought, right? If we are no longer valuable or lovable, of course, that's like tragic, right? So if you truly believe that extra 15 pounds makes you a bad person, unlovable, not worthy, like I understand why you're in crisis, right? So what you need,
Yeah.
what I hope you can start to do is disentangle your value from your size, disentangle your lovability from your size or your looks.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it's also challenging when people have something different about their bodies. Have you ever had somebody come in for a photo shoot who maybe had an injury or scars or like who had never really allowed anybody to take a picture? And this, the therapist in me is thinking, do people ever open up to you during these photo sessions like, oh wow, like this, or cry, or because I imagine it could be a
No.
powerful experience.
Yeah. So first off, I'm not a therapist, but sometimes the Boudoir set studio feels like a therapy room because people tell me all kinds of, they tell me secrets, they tell
Sure.
me who they're sleeping with. Um, and yes, so I have had women tell me my husband hasn't seen me without a shirt on in 7 years. I've had women tell me I had heart surgery and I have scars up and down my torso and I'm feeling a certain way about them. I've had women with alopecia come in who have no hair on their head anymore. I've had women have had their breasts removed because of breast cancer. I've had women who, I had a woman come in who is missing one of her feet because she had her foot amputated after an accident, right? So, I mean, our bodies, lots of things can happen to our bodies over the course of our lives, right? And what I'm hoping at the Boudoir Studio to provide is a space to celebrate that body no matter what, and to create photos that you don't just like accept, but that you truly love, right? So like this isn't just like, oh yeah, got a photo taken. This is like, wow, I've never seen myself look like that before. And that's what I hear all the time. So I do something a little different in my studio than a lot of places do, which is I show you a slideshow the same day as your photo shoot. So you come in, get your hair and makeup done, we do the photo shoot, and then I show you a slideshow of your pictures right then and there. I call it a same day reveal because I want women to see themselves as they are without Photoshop, without a filter, and see how beautiful they are. Now, I will do some Photoshop afterwards if you want me to remove a blemish or like whatever, but I want you to see yourself without that first and appreciate like this is you and this is maybe a version of yourself you haven't seen either at all or haven't seen for a long time.
Yes. Remarkable. That sounds amazing. I have to tell you, I've never done one before.
Oh, Whitney, well, let's find you a boudoir photographer near you.
Or I could come to you. You know,
Come
I
to
was
Chicago.
actually a year ago today, I was in Chicago last July. I did a road trip
Oh,
for the summer and I was out. I love Chicago. I think it's a
it's great in the
disaster.
summer, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, if you only, come around at that time, it looks like the best place ever. But who
Mhm.
knows? I might be back in your area and it sounds like that is the
Well,
place.
wouldn't that be fun?
That would be so fun. So I have to ask you something, Liz, because this keeps popping up for me. You've mentioned a few times that, well, the way I was raised, we weren't really, I didn't really get the message to be open with your sensuality, nudity, and that you kind of had, you played the good girl sort of, or that was encouraged for you. So what was your upbringing? Where did you grow up? And this show is fairly spiritually based, so I'm very big on spirituality, meaning your own personal expression into the world that's based on your own values, your own understandings, your own beliefs, not so much confined by religion. And I'm wondering, did you grow up religious? Were you spiritual? Like what have you evolved into now? And how does that play into your work, or how did it affect you being able to move into the work you do?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. My dad worked for the federal government in the 80s, and my parents had six kids. I'm the fourth of six kids. So I grew up in a big conservative religious Christian family. And my parents are wonderful, and I'm close with my siblings. And there are many, many wonderful things about the way I was raised that I honor and love about the values that they pass on to me. And there are parts of it that I've also rejected as an adult, in the sense that I, so broadly speaking, I actually think Christianity is pretty body positive, but it didn't filter down to me. So, like at its core, I don't actually today feel a conflict between boudoir and Christianity personally as an adult, because I think my view of Christianity now is that we're here on earth with a body that God, in his image that he created, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? But as a child and a teen, I didn't get that message, right? I kind of got the message that there was that sensuality, sexuality, and bodies were kind of bad and dirty and naughty, and I should not talk about it and show my body, right? So I have evolved on that a lot, even though I don't know that it was intended for me to learn that message as a kid. Does that make sense? Like, no one ever sat me down and said sex is bad, right? But I got that message anyway, right? Um, so I still consider myself a spiritual and religious person, but I've changed how I view some things. My parents think that what I do is kind of weird and naughty. Like they're very conservative and don't understand what I do. And at first that was a little hard for me. I was like, it's weird that I'm like starting this whole business with my parents. It's almost like as if I imagine it could be like for some people as if their child opened up like a cannabis store and their parents were like, "Whoa, that's so crazy and taboo." That's sort of how my parents, even though cannabis is legal now, to the parents it still like feels very out there. That's sort of how it is with my parents. They're like, "What are you doing taking boudoir photos?" But I don't personally find a conflict in spirituality and boudoir um, at all. In fact, I think celebrating the body can be completely compatible with spirituality. Like, I think the body helps us reach spirituality. I think the body isn't something that we reject in order to find spirituality. I think the body is something we use in order to experience um, spirituality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Well, that's why I focus on spirituality because there are a lot of religions, and that's great that you share your perspective around Christianity, that you feel like it is body positive in a lot of ways, because we don't want to be too quick to, and I try not to be too quick to just say, no, I don't agree with any of this. But there is quite a bit of, body shaming or body, just talking about sinful, shameful things about the body in a lot of different religious text and doctrine. But to me,
Absolutely.
spirituality, why I like it is it doesn't put a box around anything. And there's nothing that's up. How could you, there can't be anything, either everything is accepted or nothing is accepted. So everything about you is amazing, right? Your entire body, your entire being. So there's nothing that's shameful for me when I think in terms of spirituality. It's because to me, spirituality is freedom, everything being expressed freely, nothing being held back. And if we keep this censored and if we say, well, you can't, this, everything else is okay, but that's not free. That's
Yeah.
keeping things bound. So I'm all about anything, any service, anything in existence that encourages people to have greater freedom. And that's what I love about your work is you're allowing people to join you in your sacred studio and to say, just let it all be seen. Let your in all your glory, let it all go. It must be very liberating and relieving for a lot of women to come in there and do that.
People tell me all the time, like they're like, I just didn't know this would feel this way. I didn't like why was I so nervous? Like because we are at home in our own naked bodies, right? We are with our naked body every day, all day. That is our home, right? And that's our place. And to bring it back to religion or like if you believe you're created in the image of God, your body is godlike, right? And like I believe that, right? If you want to get even deeper with Christianity, we could talk about the body of Christ and you know, his the whole deal with the Eucharist and the sacrament is celebrating the body of Christ, right? So like maybe we shouldn't diss on the body so much, right? I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but yeah, there is something very freeing, very empowering, very opening about saying my nude body is not wrong. And in fact, it's art. It's beautiful art.
Yes. Yes, it truly is. And so to take it back a bit to when you said, it was difficult to tell your parents, let's go back to that moment where you came out about this, where you're like, okay, so I'm no longer in the safety zone of, oh, I'm a photographer and I take photos.
Yeah.
How do I share with people that I'm actually doing sensual, sexual, seductive boudoir photography?
So, Whitney, it's interesting that you asked me this because very few people ask me about this. It's been interesting. I have run this business full time for 7 years and been doing boudoir for 10 years. And I've noticed that socially, very few people ask me about boudoir. So I have actually, so like I said, I've been doing this for a decade. I've only ever had one or two conversations with my parents about it. I get up and go to work every day. I'm the breadwinner of my family. This is my life's work, and we don't talk about it because it is too uncomfortable for them to discuss.
Oh, wait, even your immediate family? Your
My siblings I can talk to, but
okay.
my parents, I've had maybe one or two short conversations with my dad. I've had one conversation with my mom.
Wow. But you still have a good relationship with them?
In this, I mean, when I say one conversation, I've had one conversation where I've even mentioned the word boudoir with her.
Okay.
Yeah, I have yes, I have I mean long story. They live in London, so they live far away, but
Oh.
yes, I still have a relation. They just don't want to talk about boudoir. And you know what? I respect that because it is so uncomfortable for them that I
Yeah.
don't if they brought it up, I would absolutely talk to them, but they don't, and so I respect their discomfort with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a huge proponent of because it's sort of the same thing as there's a time and place for liberating nudity, and it's not in a public store where people are going to be like, "This makes me uncomfortable." Well, I think that goes with anything. If you want to do boudoir and you like that, and somebody's like, "I don't get it," and it makes me uncomfortable, I don't believe people who are like, well, you have to. I'm going to
No,
push it on you. I'm going to push it because
no,
I like it, so you have to like it. I think,
no,
especially since your parents are able to say, you do what you want. Sounds like it's going well. Just don't bring it to us. And you say, okay, done. Great.
Yeah, that's what, and sometimes I do have a little bit of sadness that I can't share kind of my full life with them because this is a big part of my life. It's my whole professional life. And
Yeah.
there's a little bit of, I think, loss that I can't share that with them. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm sure that, it's okay, you know. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually very close with my siblings and I'm very open with them. Actually, both of my sisters have come to the studio to do boudoir photo shoots with.
Okay.
Yeah, and they love it.
Cool.
Yeah, so they're all on board. They love it. Yeah. I think it's a little bit generational, right? My parents are pushing 80, right? And I think it's just hard for them
Yeah.
to understand why their daughter would choose to do this kind of work when I could do anything in the whole world, you know? And I
Yes.
get that. Boudoir is taboo, right? Like we still live in a society where the female body is taboo. And opening up a business that celebrates the nude female body is not run of the mill, right? It still carries a stigma.
Hmm.
Totally get that. And that's why I'm doing what I do is to bust that stigma. But that stigma is still there.
Yeah, it is. It really it's firmly planted and it will take a while, but you know what? It also is okay if it as long as I think as long as people have the choice to not see any stigma in it and to embrace it, that's okay. I mean, like every other social issue we have, if people could just say, "Listen, it's not my thing, but I'm going to respect you wanting to do it as long as it's not hurting anybody else, you
Uh,
do it. Go for it."
we could use a lot more of that in this world, I think.
Right? And you're championing that, right? In with doing this, with offering this service for those who want to explore this, you're giving them that outlet, right? And similar to you with me doing this podcast, when I started a podcast called Women Waken, that's about spirituality and divine feminine, I can't tell you how many people in my life were like, "What are you talking about? Like this, that's weird. Like, what is, I don't get it." And they thought I was way out there, and I had to, and like you, I had a bit of conflict of like, well, I don't want to do something. I don't want my work to be based in something that people don't embrace or like, right? But ultimately, over time, I thought, they don't have to like it, but if we actually are solid friendships, family members, then they'll still accept me even if I see things differently. Because again, I don't force any of my ideas on anybody. This podcast is an offering to the world. Whoever wants it can come and swoop it up. Whoever doesn't want it can leave it. Right?
I mean, I feel the exact same way about my business. My marketing, everything I do, it's not about you have to do this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the idea that like if you're a woman, you should feel comfortable doing this. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
you don't feel if you're this is not if you are not in a place in a moment where boudoir appeals to you and where you want like that's fine. I'm not it's totally fine. But if when I talk about boudoir, it sparks a little something in you, a little curiosity in you, I would love to talk to you about why are you curious about this? What do you think this might mean for you? Why do you want to celebrate yourself right now? So I of course have to be very careful in what I say and what pictures I put. I get censored all the time on Facebook, on Instagram, because I try to post naughty pictures. But that's the thing, because it is still naughty, right? And so I want to create a safe space for women who want to celebrate themselves. But of course, if it's not your jam, I totally get it too. That's fine. Do something else for your 30th birthday.
I'm actually turning 40 in September. That would be such a good, I need to do it sooner than
Yeah,
later.
that's a good 40th birthday.
Yeah, I would love to do that for myself. That's a good idea. I need to look into it. You need to help me, Liz. We'll find a
hmm
spot
Yeah,
closer
we'll
to
find someone.
if
You
I
know what
can't
would
make
be
it.
really cool for you in Colorado if you're, I've seen some very cool outdoor boudoir in the mountains.
Oh my God, I would love that. I'm very like
Right?
Miss Nature, you know,
Yeah.
fairy kind of lady. Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
so
can you find yourself a waterfall or
yes. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it.
We don't have a
That's
lot of that here in Chicago, so I focus on the studio experience. But I mean, you could find something very cool. You know what else is a really fun thing is called destination boudoir. So
mm.
like let's say you book yourself a trip to Tulum or to Hawaii or to Santorini or something. While you're there, you book a photo shoot in the exotic look. So you're going on a trip, of course, but then the photo shoot is part of the trip experience.
Ooh, that's awesome. So many possibilities. Very cool. Now I'm curious, like, what did I mean, I think I know the answer, but, and it sounds like your husband encouraged you because he saw your interest, but how did he feel when you first opened the business and started doing this? And how did he feel about your first boudoir photo shoot and the pictures?
First, gonna say, Wendy, you asked the best questions. A lot of people about boudoir, and very few people dig into it like you do. So I love you for this. When I first interviewed for that photo studio, I came home from the job interview and I said, "Listen, I'm interviewing at this photo studio, and they do some boudoir there. Like, have you ever heard of it? What do you think?" And he's like, "They do what?" Like, neither one of us had really heard of it. We didn't know what
Oh.
it was. And I said, "It's like sexy photos of ladies." And he's like, if you want to get into that, like go for it. He's great. He's 100% supportive. And I was like, I think I want to take this job. And he's like, okay, good luck with that. So then I started working at that studio. I worked there for 3 years and I just really loved it. I just really loved I loved working with women, the 100% female staff. I loved seeing the changes that women, just like watching women be empowered and freed and liberated. It was just so fun and so great. And then he was the one who was like, "You really should start your own. You're good at this. You love it. It's your calling." And I was like, "I just don't think I can." And I would have never started. I can say I would have never started my own business without his support. He's always been my biggest cheerleader. Listen, I don't share client photos with him. He's not at home looking at your photos. I want everyone to know that. The only people, if you come to my studio, we keep the pictures 100% private unless you explicitly sign that we can use them on my website. Of course, when you go to my website, you'll see there's lots of pictures, and those are people who've explicitly given permission that I can share them. So my husband isn't supportive because he's like weird and skeevy. He's supportive because we have two daughters, and he also wants empowered, confident women in this. He wants our daughters, to grow up and feel confident, empowered in their bodies too. He gets what boudoir is for women. He's not just like, oh, it's voyeuristic. Like he understands the mission of it too, and he supports that. So it's great. We have a really good partnership. He does help me with some stuff in the business now. He's a software guy, so.
And where do you keep your personal pictures? Are they over the mantle in the living room? Like where do you keep your and do people do because I've seen people you can get like a big old, giant blown up picture of your boudoir,
Of
in your
course you
house. Do
can.
you
Yeah.
have that or how do you decor your house with your photography?
Okay, so don't tell my teenage girls, but I do have a place in our house where I keep lingerie, sex toys, and boudoir albums, and they're all together. So you know what? If you find one of it, you're
You found it
finding it
all.
all. And I mean, it's not that I get that drawer out and like parade it in front of my teenagers, but if they found it, I wouldn't be mad because I believe it's fine for them to know that their parents have. I mean, it's private, but it's also if they knew that their parents had a happy sex life, I'm fine for them to know that. So there's some boudoir albums in there. I've done a lot of boudoir photo shoots for myself now because I have like boudoir friends. A year or two ago, I ended up at a photography conference in Vegas that was focused on improving boudoir photography, like learning new techniques and stuff. And a bunch of us ended up in a hotel room in our underwear in Vegas taking pictures of each other. And that was fun. So, yeah, I've done it myself. My husband has a boudoir picture of myself hanging in his closet. We don't have any in the living room. Um, some stuff stays in the bedroom, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love doing boudoir for myself. I would never be a boudoir photographer without having done it myself. Like if I'm gonna ask my clients to do this, I need to know what it feels like to
Right.
be on the other side of the camera. So I make that a habit. When I gave my husband the first album, this is now 10 years ago, he opened it up and even though he knew I was working at the Boudoir studio, I hadn't told him that I was doing this. He was so surprised. He was so surprised that I had actually done this, got the album printed. He opened it up. The first thing he said was, "Wait, is this you?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." But he almost didn't recognize me because it was
Ah.
this version of myself that he really hadn't seen. And so to this day, he says it's the best gift anyone has ever given him in his whole life.
Well, that's what I was thinking is that it's so wonderful for women to do it for themselves first and foremost, but like their partner's not going to complain either, you know?
Right. And actually, it's such a great, if you have a partner, what's great about if you need a gift for an anniversary or a holiday or whatever, it's great because you cross off that gave the gift, but then it's also like something really fun that you got to do for you.
Yeah,
It's,
win-win.
it's a total win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have
Okay.
about half of my clients come in, have partners, and about half don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, half and half. Okay, so then Liz, I have to ask because you brought it up. So you mentioned your special secret compartment with the sex toys, lingerie, and the boudoir. Have you ever thought of expanding your business? Are you into that at all? Offering women tools that they can utilize to step beyond just showing their sensuality to get into embrace their sensuality? Because that's the other barrier that women face. Not only are women afraid of showing their bodies. They're afraid of even getting to know or explore their bodies. That's a whole nother
Yes.
topic, but I'm just curious
Yes.
if you, and this is a bigger question, is do you plan to expand your business? Do you like staying just keeping it one lane with the photography? Are you going to have a line of sex toys in the future? I got to know.
I love you, Whitney. Um, okay, so I am not, of course, like a therapist like you, but I have created a couple of free ebooks. For example, I have one called The Dirty Talk Playbook, which is 101 sexy phrases that you can try out tonight.
Ooh.
So I have some resources like that. I haven't ventured into like products like manufacturing something, but what I would like to do, I'm really happy with the business I run and the photos I take. One thing I have thought about expanding is creating some kind of, like I was saying, the destination boudoir, kind of combining a retreat with a photo shoot. So getting some women together where we talk about things and discuss things, and then take some photos also. I also have a series called Live with Liz, where I interview local Chicago women who are making a difference. And I have interviewed a couple of sex therapists, divorce therapists, people like that, where I'm trying to get kind of professionals to talk about this same kind of thing. So I take the photos. I understand that you as a therapist have training that I don't have, but I like to interview those people and get some nuggets to lead people to doing things. Yeah, women embracing their own pleasure is super important. Um, Women understand. I mean, there are women, like you say, who don't even who've never had an orgasm, who don't understand these kinds of things. I'm not the person to teach you that, but I can point you to some resources to get you started.
Yes, and that's what it's all about. That's my dream with Women Awaken is to make it this resource center where people can come together and say, "Okay, I do this, but I need this. Oh, I have this for you. Let me tell you about sharing resources to lift each other up, connecting people. Oh, you should know this person. This person would be great for you to know." That's what I've already done a lot of with my podcast. I have so many amazing guests. I can connect different people, different women, just that's what the world needs more of too. And to me, that's very feminine, where you're thinking collaboratively, you're thinking communally, like community, connecting. All those words are very feminine. And I love that you're doing so much with your work. I love that you have, is it a podcast or a show or how is it shared?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group where I
Okay.
have like 10,000 local women in this Facebook group, and I get it, so my business, of course, is boudoir photos, but I have this broader mission to help women feel empowered, and this Facebook group is a place for that. And so every morning I post a question, a conversation question, a discussion starter, and then every month I interview a local woman who's making a difference and post it in that group. So you can also watch them on YouTube or something, but that community that I have built and grown, it's been really important to me. These local women who, and people tell me it's made a real difference for them to be around other women who are on this journey, women who are seeking to broaden their relationships and their careers and how they feel about their bodies. And women come in and do photo shoots with me, and then they come back to their group and report on how it went and post their photos. And that's really fun. So I am trying to find women, bring them together. Again, it's that community building, that collaborative.
Yeah.
I'd like to do more in person with that. I started that group during the pandemic when we were all at home on our computers, right? And so doing some more on in-person stuff would be really fun for me. We have gotten together a few times. We did a pole dancing class.
I love those. Oh my gosh, hand in hand,
Yeah.
right? Let's go to the pole dancing class and get our boudoir photography session after.
Yeah, right.
So fun.
Yeah, so we've done some stuff like that. We did a self-defense class. So, I do try to bring women together when I can.
Yeah, you do. You're badass. Liz, you're awesome. I love it. You're doing so many incredible things. Congratulations on your
Oh, thank
where
you.
you are now. Because I'm sure when you set out, when you said it was 2017 or 18, that you're like, huh, maybe I could do this.
Yeah. And
Could
it
you
wasn't
imagine you'd be where you are today?
no.
You said you're
I
the breadwinner of your family with this business.
Yeah, so my younger daughter plays the violin, and when she was little, we couldn't afford violin lessons. And my whole goal with opening the boudoir studio is like, if I can make enough money to pay for violin lessons, that's like my whole goal. I want to be able to like buy her a violin and pay for violin lessons because like violin lessons are expensive, you know.
Yeah.
And that was as big as I could think, you know. And then each year it's just grown and grown. And yeah, eventually my husband quit his job. And
That's amazing. Sorry to laugh,
yeah,
but it's like, you said that he has like a pretty normal, more like corporate. So you think of that being like always going to be the safety net, but the fact that you, as the burgeoning successful entrepreneur, you can go to great, great heights.
I know sometimes I'm like, you know what, I mom bossed just like a little bit too hard. Like, oops. Like I didn't mean to mom boss so hard that I became a breadwinner.
Whoops.
I meant anyway, he does help with the business at home still too. So we
Oh,
actually
cool.
had kind of like a role reversal. It was interesting because I was a stay-at-home mom for so long, and now he takes on a lot of more of that home
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm more at work. So we didn't really, when we got married, I would have never expected that either, but we've kind of had this role reversal a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, beautiful that he's on board and then it worked, that it was just like, no, it
Yeah,
doesn't
and I think we're
matter.
both happier this way, you know?
Oh, oh
But
my gosh.
you couldn't have forced us into it, you know? Like if you'd said, all right, you have to go to work and you have to stay home, like we would have been like, what, why? No, you know? But organically as it grew, I think we're both happier in these roles. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, again, Liz, congratulations on
Well,
not only
thanks.
the success of the business, but of the life you've created for yourself that took a lot of courage, took a lot of bravery and risk, and now you're having all the rewards and you deserve them. And thank you so much for what you're doing for women and being a part, because my belief, especially in times right now, 2025, it's scary in a lot of ways. And I think all of us look around and we say, what can I do? And I think some people just feel so hopeless. But to me, anybody who's doing their own part to, sort of like the Gandhi quote, to be the change you want to see. If you want people to be more empowered and to share their voice more and be more confident, then anything you're doing that facilitates that is the most you could possibly do. The first thing you can do is do it for yourself, and you did that. You first earned your own confidence and love and acceptance of yourself, and now you're giving that gift to other women. So again, you're a badass. You're awesome. Thank you for what you do, and congratulations on all your success.
You're so kind. Yeah, I would just say I consider myself an artist and I think what are artists, but you know, in the history of the world, artists have made a difference
Oh,
in
yeah,
shaping public perception. And so I hope in my small way, the world is in turmoil right now. There's a lot going on, but I just hope as an artist, that something I'm doing is helping to bring some good into the world. And keep,
absolutely.
if you're listening, keep bringing goodness into this world. We need it.
Yes. Well, it makes me think of a quote that I love that says, don't worry about what the world needs. Do what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And to
Yeah.
me, that's what artists do. That's what anything creative does. It makes you feel alive. Something like a photo shoot can stir something inside of you that might have been dormant your whole life. A song or a piece of art can elicit a feeling that people didn't know they had, because also, still to this day, people are afraid of their feelings and their emotions. But when something like that, a particular experience, particular song or a piece of art, like it can really, you're like, wow, there's something in here that wants to come out. And that's how people allow themselves to move into their full potential.
Yeah. A lot we could say about that. Like, think about what we value from 1,000 years ago. A lot of it is the art that's still left.
Yeah, and it still
Right.
inspires people to this day,
Right.
right?
So,
It's a magnificent force. Creation is the force of life. We all showed up here from the creative force of, you know, birth and creation, and every little act is an act of creation. So anybody who's questioning whether or not they should pursue their creative passion, the answer
mhm.
is yes. And that's another thing that you inspire people. You can pursue your creative projects.
Yes. Everyone told me not to open a studio because I wouldn't make any money. Everybody, except for my husband. I floated the idea to a couple people and they're like, you're gonna start a what? Everyone has an iPhone in their pocket. No one's gonna hire a photographer. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it anyway. So if you want to paint or take photos or write books or whatever, I promise you there's a way to make money on it. I promise you. I don't maybe have the answers, but someone out there knows how to make money doing something creative. If you need to make money
Uh,
but if you don't want to make money, you just want to be your side hobby, that's fine too. And not everything has to be monetized.
yeah.
But if you have the itch to make your creative work also your business, it can be done. There are people getting paid to do what you want to do, I promise.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
then my last question for you, Liz, you might not have the answer. You don't have to, but do you have one key to your success in terms of, because just what you said, so many people take that first objection. "Well, you can't open a studio, you won't make money." "Oh, okay, then I won't." what
Yeah.
allowed you to say, no, I'm going to do it? And then despite hurdles, what do you feel like was the one key that got you to where you are today?
It is hard for me to say why I did. I mean, I look back now and I'm like, it really it didn't make sense on paper. The numbers didn't add up. And yet I went forward with it anyway. I don't know what gave me the push to keep going, but I do know the thing that makes my business successful now is what I call the process. So I don't wake up every morning and be like, what are we going to do today? Because I already know what we're going to do today. When someone walks into my studio, I'm not like, how is this going to go? Because I already know I have a process in place. And I would say that is what's why my studio is successful today is because I have a plan and a process. I'm not like, how am I going to pay rent next month? Because I know. I'm not like, how am I going to get clients in the studio next month? Because I know how the marketing process works. So there's like a method to the madness is what keeps my
Yeah.
business going now. What got me started, I'd really have to think. I mean, it was mostly like here's what it mostly was. I said to myself, when I'm 80 years old, do I want to look back and say, I never started that thing that I wanted to start because I thought it was scary and I might fail? And I said to myself, 80-year-old self is going to be glad I tried, even if I fail. So I'm going to try even if I fail because 80-year-old self would look back and think, why didn't I just try? Like, who knows? Maybe it could have worked. I should have tried. And that's what kind of was like, I probably am gonna fail. I could fail, but I want to at least try is what got me started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Wow. Liz, that is so incredible. And it's very inspiring.
You're
Very
so sweet.
inspiring. And I think that that secret is exactly what people need to, I mean, basically what you're just saying is you need to take the time, and this is the hardest part for any sort of creative thing. You actually have to do, sort of the blueprint for what is it actually going to look like? Like what is the structural part of it? How do you get it going? Because once you have that established, like you said, once you have the method in place, you don't have to think about it every day. It's just, you come and people, and but that's probably the hardest part of anything, right? If you're building a house, it takes so much time to build it, but once you've built it, it's this amazing structure. Well, that's what a business is. It takes so much freaking time. Okay, what's the what's this going to look like? What's the framework? But once you do that, the hardest part, just like writing a book too, it's so hard to write a
Yeah.
book, but once you do it, you put it together for the rest of time, that book is available for people to be inspired, right? And now,
It's like having a baby. At
yeah,
first, you're
it's
up all
creation. You
night.
birthed it. Just gave birth.
You're that thing has to eat every 2 hours. You're changing the every right. But then
Yeah.
eventually the baby becomes a teenager, and like the baby's gone at school for like 6 hours a day, right? You are not feeding that baby ever around the clock and right. Like, but
Mhm.
every business starts as a newborn baby where it's just like it screams all the time and it poops all the time, and you're like, it's like,
And
ah,
you have to be the one to clean it up. And you're like, why did I
yeah.
do
And
this?
right. And you have to you either push through that or you shut down the business because you cannot maintain that newborn stage indefinitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And would
has
you
to
say at
grow
this
up.
point, you're having fun most of the time with your business?
I mean, I love being at the studio. I love being at the studio. Sometimes when I sit at my laptop doing busy work, there's always so if I could just take the photos,
Yeah.
running a business is not just taking the photos.
Right.
Right. And that's an important thing to remember if you want to be an artist. Like you think like, oh, I just want to make jewelry all day. Great. But guess what? Running a jewelry business is running a business and making jewelry.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, it is great. It's fun. Running a business is the hardest thing I've ever done and also the most rewarding thing I've ever done, except for having kids, which was harder and more rewarding than the
I
business.
was going to say that again, once again, it sounds exactly what people say about having children, the hardest and the most rewarding.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Liz, you got it all. That's amazing. And I'm sure life still has its challenges, but to be a woman who took a risk, is successful, has your partner and children and a family, congratulations. And thank you again for inspiring other women that it is possible and that we can bring our unique gifts forward and flourish.
Yeah. Thanks for all of your insightful questions, Whitney. It's been really fun to chat with you. I
You
feel
are
like we
so
could chat
welcome.
all day.
I know we could. We could. Well, this was so much fun. I'm still going to keep my sights set on getting back to Chicago one day and doing a shoot with you in person.
I would love it.
Until then, it was lovely to meet you. And Liz, if people want to learn more about your work, I don't know if they'd have to come to your studio to work with you, but I don't know if there's any other way to connect or any they could join your community perhaps, or that's local as well.
For sure. Stop by chicagoboudoir.com, and boudoir is a little bit tricky to spell. It's Boudoir.com. I've got some free ebooks. Join our community. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you travel to Chicago, but also just be part of our mission to empower women.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Liz. Well, thank you again so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Whitney.
Take care.